You're listening to 3 Minute Marketing, where we interview the world's top growth marketing leaders and distill their knowledge into actionable, bite-sized insights. Now here's your host, Chris Mechanic.
Welcome to another episode of 3 Minute Marketing, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic, seasoned performance marketer, agency owner, entrepreneur, dad, father, etc. Today's show is an interesting one. Today's show is all about basically how marketing changes and evolves as companies grow, as well as new coming products sort of get adopted. And I'm here along with Don Bush here, and Don is the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Neuro-ID, which is a really interesting company that just raised a very large series. What was it? A Series B, I think. So very impressive and has some really unique insights into this. So Don, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about how you think about the way that marketing does evolve as organizations grow and as markets get more mature.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's terrific. I've listened to some of your episodes and great insights.
Thank you.
It's typical of a smaller company, especially somebody going from like an angel or a Series A, Series B. They want that exponential growth. And in order to do that, they've got to change their marketing and their sales motion. Oftentimes early for smaller companies, they prove their model, their software, their widget, whatever that might be. They prove its value by going to early adopters, innovators, friends and family that you've got in your Rolodex from your years of being in an industry. And that's all fantastic. But it's not going to get you to where you want to be with that exponential growth, because now you've got to market to real people
Right.
that may not give you that benefit of the doubt. They may not give you, we're an early adopter. We know there's going to be hiccups.
Right.
You've now got to take that marketing motion and go, who is my ICP? Who is my audience? What are the best industries? How do I reach them? Are we a sales-led company where we do a sales motion with marketing, or are we a product-led company that does a product-led motion with marketing? Very different aspects on how you get to that customer and bring them to the trough, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it really does change fundamentally how you present yourself to the market.
Absolutely. So we've got some time left here. So what about when you go from, very big, brand new startup, friends and family, to then marketing, then you go to that next level, Yeah. What happens sort of as you cross the next chasm, I guess you could say?
Well, you've got to make sure that your message is crystal clear. Your position in the market is very clear. You are solving the issues of why does my customer care about what I'm presenting to them? How does it help them? And this becomes less of a white glove into almost a self-serve model. They have to understand that information prior to coming to you, whether it's for a demonstration or whether it's a free download of your product or something. So that crystal clarity of message, position, and value take on a whole new role than it did when you were calling up somebody that you worked with 2 jobs ago, and they're like, yeah, we'll give it a shot over here.
Right.
That doesn't have to be as clear. Now you've got to be really clear as to the value, the benefits, the person at the organization, and the industries that those organizations work in. That changes maybe how you do things digitally at events, which partners you have, what associations you're associated with, the advertising that you do, the communities that you are in with your social outreach and so forth. So what got you here may not get you where you want to go. That's the big point. You got to look at everything and ensure that clarity of vision is there.
Love it. Perfectly timed. Well, thank you very much, Don. That was really insightful and I think useful for many of the listeners here, because you're either in that startup mode or that level 2, level 3. So I definitely appreciate that. And focus, I can say, is certainly important. Focus, clarity, positioning in the market. Those are things that become more and more important as you graduate. So thank you very much for that, Don. Tell everybody a little bit about NeuroID and where they might find you online.
You bet. We're NeuroID, which is neuro-id.com. We're a human analytics platform. What we do is look at the behavior of a user and translate that into intent. What is the user intending to do? What's their experience on your site? And it's a whole level of information that has been kind of lost during the digital transformation. We transformed everything to be forms online. Well, now we've lost that human community. Even you and I, digitally, we're communicating. I see your face. I see how you're reacting. That's all been lost online. And what NeuroID is takes that human element and puts it back into the customer journey and helps companies know, is this a fraudster with ill intent, or is this a customer that's just confused at what you're presenting them, and lets them react to that as they would if they were in person. So
Yeah,
it's
and that doesn't
fantastic.
that has no marketing implications whatsoever, does it?
No, none at all. None at all.
Hey guys, we're going to continue talking. Don and I, make sure to check out the extended cut version, which should be in the show notes or somewhere below this video. I have a feeling it's going to be a good one. So stick around. I want to hear more about that NeuroID piece. I didn't know it did all that. But thank you for listening. As always, drop us a like, a comment, share it with a friend if you think it's awesome. We love you very much, and join us in the show notes. Bye-bye. That was good. I didn't realize your company did that. That's like huge implications. Are you kidding me? So
It
you're
is.
telling
It's
me you can, because I
well,
mean, it's all
the
about the intent, right?
two of the founders are literally neuroscientists. They have their doctorate in neuroscience. And what that means is, what are those signals that you get when you communicate with somebody, and what do those signals mean? And so we lost that when we went everything online. So think about COVID over
Well,
the
how
last
did we
18 months
lose
or
it
2 years.
exactly? How did we lose it? Because like you were saying, you can still see me, right? Like you could theoretically log that.
Let me give you a good for instance. You walk into your bank because you want to open an account, get a loan, get a credit card, whatever. You walk in. 2 years ago, when banks were open, you walked in and they go, "Oh, Mr. Bush, fill out this form for us." If I then went, let me open my folder here and see how to spell my first name. And I did that, and I made an error. I had to erase it and put it back in there. And then I misspelled my last name, and I didn't know what my street address was. So I'm looking on this other piece of paper over here to copy my address. What would you think if you were a bank owner?
That you're like a scammer. Like who doesn't know their last name, right?
Right. Same thing happens online. The problem is online, the only data you get to see is after somebody hits the submit button. When
Mm-hmm.
they hit the submit button, then you go, "Oh, it says Don Bush, it says his address, it says here's his social security number." Now I've got to make a determination based on that data and that data alone,
Yep.
whether Don is who he says he is, whether he's here for ill intent, or whether
Right.
he's actually a customer looking to make a purchase.
Yeah.
Without
100%.
that, without that behavioral information, that whole human communication is lost. So now what
Totally.
NeuroID does, by the way you text, type, use your mouse, we can show a online lender, for instance, in this case, whether this person is a good customer, a genuine customer looking to get a loan,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a fraudster looking to defraud you and steal something. Um, we can tell with really, really amazing accuracy if you, what are the emotions? Are you frustrated? Are you hesitant? Are you confused? Or are you confident? And it all
Really?
comes from the way they fill these things in, the way they interact with this form or website is actually going into the neuroscience of what they pulling from long-term memory. How many times do you misspell your name? Probably not often,
Well, when
right?
typing, I mean, you could,
You
but
might fat finger it here
you
and
wouldn't
there.
try to start writing Smith and then like accidentally write Anderson, you know?
Yeah, or do you cut and paste your name? How many times do you,
I have the form autofill usually.
those things are all taken into consideration. But what it does is it takes the user versus the user and
That's
says,
fascinating.
it
So
really is fascinating.
I don't mean to, I'm really interested in this because, there are ways that you can capture or otherwise filter that pre-conversion, like form interactions, such as Hotjar, right? Like you could grab a session, you could record that session and then see their screen and see a lot of
Absolutely.
that. But it
But if
doesn't
you've got
have like,
10,000 folks coming to make a session a day, who's going to
right.
sit there and watch the 10,000 interactions
Yeah,
as to
but
what they're doing and then interpret that?
yeah, and it's not, and Hotjar certainly doesn't have any like anything predictive or anything, insightful, such as like they're frustrated.
Right.
Though they do have rage clicks. But anyway, can we see it? I don't mean to turn this into a demo, but like, do you have an instance or like some demo account that you can like show us? Because I'm still trying to grasp it a little bit, but I'm
I don't have the
really
video
liking it.
ready to go so we could watch it here quickly, but when you watch somebody go on a form, and let's say that we're watching you fill out a form, the way you fill it out, are you doing it in order? Is your flow of typing and management of that? Where is your mouse going? Are you distracted? Are you going off the page, on the page? Did you have to change your address 3 times to get it right? How long is it taking? It all comes down to, is this coming from long-term memory, or am I having, because you really can only remember 3 to 5 bits of information at a time.
Yeah.
So if you have to spell my name Donald, and somebody's not familiar with how to spell Donald, that could be difficult. Whereas for me, it's easy. 99.8% of the time I get it right.
Right.
Um,
Hey, let me ask you
and
this. Is this being used mostly by like marketers or customer experience people or security people? Like,
that's the beauty of it. When you start looking at behavior, it's got multiple uses. So let's start with the one I mentioned earlier. Is this person who they say they are? If I'm a bot, if I'm an electronic software piece trying to break into a company, all the stuff is automated. You will see things happen in milliseconds, which is not usually the time frame that you and I work in.
right.
You'll see things filled out exactly the same as they go through and try and do 25 different applications.
Yeah.
That's a bot. Well, I
So,
won't know that until after I hit submit and look at the data. Think of it like this.
so
When
like
you
my
did your math
bank,
test in college, the instructor said, show your work, because anybody can get the answer.
right.
But how you got to that answer tells you a lot about how much do you know, your process of thinking, the formulas, and so forth. And so we're doing the same thing.
So
What
let
we're
me
doing
ask
is
you this.
showing the company how they got to the answer, which reveals a lot about what their intent and experience is.
100%. So let me ask you this then. How would one, so if I were a prospect for you, say I was a huge bank or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
how would I install your product? Is it like a snippet of code or how does it
Yeah,
get?
it's a JavaScript,
Oh,
pretty easy.
nice.
Because
Can I?
again, we're not capturing personal information. When Chris goes and fills this out, I don't know who Chris is. I'm not recording Chris. All I'm recording is, how is this user interacting with this site?
Mhm.
And then this user, I can now pass on to the organization and go, this user that's doing this, here's what we believe their intentions are, or their experience is.
Extremely fascinating.
So that's the fraud side. Let me show you. Let me give you an example of
Hold up.
experience.
I'm gonna bring your website up real quick
Okay.
so that people can see. I just want to check it out too. You want me to give you some quick marketing tips on the fly?
I'm sure we need many.
Excuse me. I'm usually a clean tabs person. I usually like to minimize all the things, so do not judge me here. But I like it. Human analytics for the digital world. Great logo montages are some big names. Proactively monitor. So here, I just want to see how you got, like, in terms of your own, what you were saying, in terms of the clarity and the positioning.
So let me
Solutions
show
for
you. Let me
conversion.
throw something else at you as far as the experience side. So using the same analogy, we're a customer's coming online to get a loan, right?
Mhm.
And as an online lender, I want to know, is this a genuine customer? Is this a fraudster? And if this is a genuine customer, are they having a good experience?
Mhm.
And one of our customers, we put our code on their site. We watched people come through and we said, hey, this thing about annual income is stumping about 22% of your folks. Well, you and I, when we're going for a loan or a credit card or something, and we say, what's your annual income? You and I could probably fill that in without even thinking about it twice.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to somebody like my son who works for an hourly wage, he doesn't know what his annual income is. That's a confusing question to him. And if this online lender is going for that underbanked or a thin credit file customer, that's going to be a problem
Yeah.
because all of a sudden that looks like they're maybe doing bad things because they can't come up with their annual income. Well, what we did is said, look, that could be do they include bonuses? What about overtime? How do they calculate their annual income? So what we did is we said, hey, once somebody gets to this portion and they show hesitation, let's pop your little calculator and say, hey, let us help you put your annual income together.
Yeah.
They had after that, with 22% of the folks dropped off at that point, they had 18% continue their journey because now that question was not a point of frustration or hesitation or friction. So on a customer experience side of things, yes, you can help customers get through their journey. And that's when we say, we're putting the customer back in the customer journey.
Don, you have sold me very well, completely sold right now. And want a demo? Send me a snippet of code. I want to put it on my site right now. No,
I will
seriously. I'm
put
like,
something together
can I
for
buy
you.
some shares? Like, are you guys doing another? Can you do a series B.1 for me real quick?
I'll put you in touch with our CFO, see what they can do.
Or can we do a demo for basically all of our clients? Because we do a good amount of conversion rate optimization and
Mhm.
UX more and more these days. So like this is just a gold mine. I'm like really itching to
It
see it. But
really is. When
you
we
guys
look
are a
at
HubSpot shop. That's nice.
yes. And what we did is basically we've created a category and we call it digital intent. What is the
Hmm.
intent of the person that comes to your site? Is it good
Yeah.
intention, bad intention? If it's good intention, are we treating them well? Are we allowing them to get to their journey so that they can successfully close whatever it is they're looking for? I mean, you're in the business, right? I've owned agencies as well. It's over the past couple of decades, this digital transformation, we're still sitting at generically single digit conversion. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think, we look at that and go, well, yeah, because this is bits and bytes and I'm a person.
Conversion, man, that is absolutely I think the area probably that deserves the most focus but gets the least in
Mhm.
many
It
cases. And
does. Because if I'm the fraud manager, I just want to keep bad things out, and a lot of good people get caught in that net. I mean, that's a
well,
$440 billion problem is throwing out good customers that we think are suspicious.
oh really? I didn't realize that. I'm like, I mean, we have some clients that financial like high reg clients that might be interested in
Mhm.
that, but I'm mostly interested in the conversion part of it, honestly. Like that's,
Well, I'll give you another
but
for
yeah, there
instance
meat on
then.
the bone of that too, like the fraud.
There's
Anyway,
one
go
of our
ahead.
customers, an online lender, again, keeping them with the same scenario. What they were doing is they were asking people in an application for all kinds of information. Everybody got the same application, whether you were a good client or a bad prospect, everybody got the same thing.
Hmm.
What we started doing is informing them and going, look, this particular, when Chris comes to the site and he's filling this in, Chris shows all the signs of a genuine customer. So fast track them, get them past all this other junk. Just get them to where you want them to, you know, the all the ins and outs of the loan. And they had a
Hmm.
fast track program. And what they saw was once they looked at what NeuroID was presenting and said, this is a genuine customer,
Hmm.
and they fast tracked those, they doubled their conversion rate on those fast track customers.
Got
And
it. Got it.
now they're broadening who they fast track because they're very confident in what we can present them as far as the behavior of that user.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, well, I'd like a demo for real. Uh,
I'll
we're
put you
we're
down.
we're heading toward time here, but I do want to ask. You mentioned category creation,
Hmm.
uh, and for the folks that listen to the original or the main episode, we were talking about this, evolution in terms of maturity and marketing and growing with size and such. Where are you guys? Like, what phase are you at? It sounds like you described sort of a level 1 phase and a level 2 phase. But you sound like you'd probably be more at level 3 or maybe level 4. Where are you guys at? Are there levels beyond that? And what are some of like your biggest initiatives right now? Category creation, that sounds like a big one.
You bet. I mean, smaller companies, especially newer companies, they try and fit into a category. So there's a description of what they do, at least a basic description in the market so they don't have to educate everybody.
Right.
When you look at what we do, there's a lot of education that has to happen because it's a new concept. And so with that, we felt it was the right thing to do to say, it doesn't really fit into this or this or this. So we're going to create a category, digital intent, which is what is the intent and experience of those users? And along with that category, we said, here's what it means to us. It's a human analytics. What are the humans that are coming to your site? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to deceive you or are they trying to buy from you?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're trying to buy from you, how can we help them along the way, get all the way to the end of the customer journey and make a yes, no decision? And so with that human analytics platform, now we're hanging products on top of that go, hey, if you're a fraud manager, you might want to use this. If you're a CX manager, you might want to use this. If you're a conversion, product manager, here's some things that will help you as far as that journey goes.
Yeah.
And so as we've gone from little to jumping that chasm, as Jeffrey Moore says, to get to the real people, we've had to do that. We've had to kind of position ourselves in our own category, which means we have to be thought leaders in education, different type of marketing, as we talked about before. We have to bring that human emotion in. It's not just bits and bytes. It's what are your customers experiencing? That's a different type of presentation to your potential customer as well. So I think we've gone through stages 1 and 2. I think we're in stage 3, if you want to call it that, where we're now going from, we've proven the model over the past 4 years. Now we're taking it to the masses and it has to fill their needs and they have to understand it quickly in order to go, yeah, I'll take a look at that. I think even explaining it to you for just a few seconds, you were like, show me more.
Yeah.
That's what we want to happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's about all the time that I've got, or that we've got today, folks. Don, it's been a real pleasure. I'm super duper interested. And let's definitely talk online after this. But any parting words of wisdom, anything you want to leave folks with before we wrap?
Thanks for letting me share some things with you over the past few minutes, but I think it's important to evolve. As marketers, we have to evolve. What got you to where you are may not be what gets you to where you want to go. And if you're too stiff in your marketing, it could stagnate sales, growth, revenue, those types of things. So that's my thoughts. When you want to go from little to big, everything's got to evolve, and marketing is a big part of that.
Yep. It's like phase 1, friends and family. Phase 2, get your act together. Phase 3, get positioned well. And then phase 4 is create a category like Neuro-ID is doing with digital intent. That's really badass. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll talk next week.